At America's Small Business Development Center, our mission is simple: to help businesses grow and succeed. At the SBDC, we offer no-cost consulting and low-cost training to make it easier for businesses to start, grow, and recover. As a valued resource partner of the SBA, the SBDC serves small business owners throughout the U.S. by providing timely expertise and advice that business owners can use today. These services are especially helpful for small businesses impacted by COVID-19. There are 9 SBDC locations in LA and Ventura counties, and one right here in Pasadena at Pasadena City College, where we offer one-to-one consulting with experts in SBA disaster loans, strategic planning, marketing, financial analysis, and many more vital services. For no-cost help with your small business, contact the PCC SBDC at 626-585-3105, SBDC at pasadena.edu, or PCC SBDC.
So grab a screenshot of that while I go on to our next step of this program, and that's to introduce Elaine Rodriguez. Elaine is one of our advisors, and she has been working with us and in biz dev for many years. She helped build these workshops, and I'm going to turn it over to her and have her introduce Conexión. Elaine.
Hi, Don. Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I am excited to see you all back again. If it's your first time joining us, welcome. We have a lot of really great information today on starting your small business. I'm super excited to be bringing this series to you guys. Super excited to hear and kind of share with you guys that we're going to be having more programming in the spring and in the fall. For those of you that are thinking about starting a business, joining the Entrepreneurship Club, I think, as Don mentioned, is really, really a great opportunity. I'll share with you guys a little bit about my background. I also went to Pasadena City College. I am a proud alum of PCC and then transferred over to Cal State LA, which is actually where I met Oscar and Alex, and they'll share with you guys a little bit about the journey. But we really are looking forward to bringing a lot of these series to you guys, broadening the different, opportunities that there is in entrepreneurship and kind of normalizing what it actually means, right? I think we see a lot of things on TV about, Shark Tank, and you have to be a certain type of entrepreneur in order to fit into this category. And, we're here to show you and to tell you that you can be a different kind of entrepreneur if you want to be. You can start a business while you go to school. You can start a business after you go to school. You can get a full-time job and have a side hustle and still be an entrepreneur. So again, we're here to kind of normalize what entrepreneurship means and what it means for you guys. And more than anything, we just want to provide you with the resources and access to information. And as usual, we like to bring you guys things that are free because that is one of the, kind of key items that a lot of the programs that we bring to you guys are really here to share with you. And if you guys need help, if you guys have ideas, if you're thinking, wow, where do I go to get started? I think going to the SBDC is a really great place to get started. It's in your backyard. It's literally at one of your campus. Like, I never knew there was an SBDC, at Pasadena City College while I was there. But once I did learn about it, we actually went through, being part of the SBDC for a little while. We went through a couple of different programs. And, it's been really super helpful to be part of the ecosystem and learn more about my resources to start on businesses, right? So, with that being said, I'm excited to share with you guys, who's coming on to talk to you guys about starting a small business. So both Oscar and Alex from Conexión, actually really good friends of mine. They were my colleagues while we were at school. We ran the Entrepreneurship Club together, which is kind of how we used to get into a lot of trouble, just launching ideas and going to pitch competitions, going to other schools and beating other schools in pitch competitions, and eventually started, what Conexión is today, right? But I left the team a few years ago, and they have been doing a really amazing job at continuing to run the organization and actually scaling and becoming a whole new organization, providing so many different resources and programs for entrepreneurs focusing in South LA. So I'm excited to bring them to you, for them to share with you the fundamentals of starting a business, and for them to share their story too about how, they were student entrepreneurs and then became full-on, founders and, running a company. So I know that if we can do it, you guys can do it too. So I'm excited to have them join us today. So with that being said, I'm gonna pass it off to Alex and Oscar from Conexión. Guys, take it away.
Hello, everybody. Let me just make sure I can share my screen really quick. Move this bar. Let's see. Okay, cool. Can you guys see my screen? Perfect. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Alex Lamb. I'm the Vice President and co-founder of Conexión. Also, Oscar Aguayo is going to be assisting me today. He's also the president and co-founder of Conexión. And like Elaine said, we used to get in a lot of trouble going to pitch competitions and, just helping small businesses. Here's some of our contact information. I put our emails and our business contact information if you guys want to take a screenshot. If you feel like you want to get in contact with us later on for your future business needs, feel free to reach out, as well as the SBDC. So just to give you all a small, another little introduction aside from what Elaine said, Conexión started about 5 years ago through a business pitch competition that was hosted by Mayor Garcetti. When Elaine, Oscar, and myself all went to Cal State LA, we were competing against UCLA, USC, and Pepperdine, and we ended up winning $25,000 to start our business. This is how Conexión was born. So we're now a 501c3 nonprofit that's been focusing on providing technical assistance, access to capital, and mentorship for small businesses and entrepreneurs, specifically in South LA. The word Conexión is actually a hybrid word that we made up and created, which means connection and action, which is what we actually do for small businesses, because our mission is to simply support and create sustainable businesses. Now, there is going to be a lot of information and content that I'm going to be going over today. So I'm going to try to cover as much as I can in 1 hour, or it looks like about 1:10 left. So if you have any questions, please write them down and we'll answer as many as we can at the end of the presentation. So for today's agenda, we want to start with talking about testing and validating your business idea with the Lean Canvas. The Lean Canvas is important because you want to make sure you're solving a big enough problem before you spend all your time, your money, and your resources into a business that might not necessarily work out in the long run. So we'll be going over what is a Lean Canvas, how to fill one out, and then how to actually use this to test and validate your business idea. Then after the Lean Canvas, we're going to go into conducting market research and analysis. This is important because a part of filling out the Lean Canvas involves really understanding your customers and the problems that you're going to be solving for them. The more you understand your customers, the better you'll be able to communicate to market and actually sell your products or services to them. So for market analysis, we're going to go over what market research is, the different types of market research you can use and conduct, and then go over ways how to actually do that market research. Then after that, we're going to go over the main components of writing your business plan. Once you've gotten all these ideas out of your head, you validated your business idea with the proper market research, then you can start to create your business plan. This is important because this will be pretty much the blueprint for your business, laying out why you exist and how you'll be successful. So we'll briefly go over what are all the main components of a usual business plan, and then go over, how to fill in each of those components. After that, see, I told you guys there's going to be a lot. We're going to go over the steps to actually legitimize your business. This is important because the last thing you want to do is start a business that will later be fined or suspended because you're operating illegally. So we'll go over Conaction's 9-step process that involves everything from selecting and filing your business name to getting your licensing and permits and all the things necessary to actually start and legitimize your business. Lastly, we'll go over some resources to actually get you started. Things like free educational webinars like you're kind of taking right now from the SBDC. We can also provide you with a template with some free and some paid tools that are common for entrepreneurs to use when they're starting their business. And then some additional educational resources for you guys to continue on this business journey. So to get started, the first topic that we're going to talk about is the Lean Canvas. The Lean Canvas is a tool that was created by Ash Mara that breaks down what your business idea is into its key assumptions. It was derived from Alex Osterwalder's business model canvas, but actually optimized for startup businesses. It's basically like a one-page business plan, but it's made to quickly get out your ideas out of your head so you don't waste time pursuing something that's not going to work. It's a simple one-page template that pretty much consists of 9 blocks that map out the key points that help you turn your business idea into something a lot more concrete. The Lean Canvas is created for entrepreneurs to make it easier for you to get a very clear and simple idea of what you're actually trying to do. A lot of this information can also later be transferred to your business plan. So the first box of your Lean Canvas is your customer profile. This talks about specifically about who your exact customer is. You can also develop an avatar for this, which is the picture that you see on the right. An avatar is basically a template that describes your target customer, what their age, their gender, their job, their salary, what favorite brands they like, what are their life goals, their buying concerns, and basically all of the details about who this person actually is that you're trying to sell to. Your customer profile is also going to help you distinguish the difference between your user and your customer. If you don't know the difference, it can be confusing, but sometimes they can be the same person. So if you guys think about, let's say, video games, right? One of the target customers for people who play video games are kids. The kids are actually the users of the video games because they're the ones playing the games. But their parents are actually the customers because that's the person who's actually making the purchase of the product. So that's an instance where the customer and the user are 2 different people. Another customer could be young adults, who in this case could be the user and the customer because they're purchasing the product and they're also using it themselves. The second box of the Lean Canvas is your customer's problem. What problems is your customer currently facing? This is important to remember because if there's no problem, then there's no business. It's as simple as that. Each segmented customer has different sets of problems. So in order sometimes to find the root cause of the problem, we can use a tool called the 5 whys technique. This is a technique that was invented by Toyota, the car company. In order to arrive at the core problem, sometimes you need to start with your hypothesis of what you think is the problem and literally just keep asking why 5 times in a row until you actually get to the root of the problem that your customer is facing. Your third box contains your actual solution. This is going to be based on the problem at hand, what type of solution you should create for this problem. Is there an obvious solution to the problem your customer is facing? What type of product or service can you create in order to actually relieve their pains and solve their problems? Sometimes it's not so obvious, so brainstorming ideas to solve the customer's problem is a great way to start thinking about solutions, or even doing some competitive research to see who's already solving this problem and how you can do it better, which will help you brainstorm some more ideas. The next section to the lean canvas are your key metrics. Your key metrics are things that you use to measure and track the performance of your business. Some of the common metrics that people use can be what are your daily sales? What are the amount of new customers that you're obtaining every single week? To even the number of engagements from your social media posts, among other things. These are all the things that you need to measure to help determine, is what you're doing in your business actually working? But it would be up to you to decide which metrics best suit your actual business needs based on your business model. The fifth box of the lean canvas is going to be your value propositions. Customers will choose your business over another business because of the different type of value you offer over your competitors. A value proposition simply creates value for that specific customer segment by catering to their unique needs. There are many types of values, such as quantitative values. Do you offer a better price? Is the speed of your service much faster? Or qualitative values, like, do you have a sleek design of your application or website, or do you actually provide a flawless customer experience? These are different things that can help differentiate you from your competition and why people would like to choose your business over someone else's. The sixth box of your lean canvas is going to be your unfair advantage, which is something that we do typically leave for the very end because it's a little bit harder to figure out sometimes. Although it's not easy to fill out at first, it will be very important to actually differentiate yourself from your competitors. So this could be things like, what advantage do you have or can you create that someone else cannot easily copy? This is something that can't be created or bought that is very unique to your business. This can be like a trademark that you own, or even a unique set of people that you have on your team. Something that someone else cannot just buy or create, but it's unique specifically to your business. These are also known as sustainable and competitive advantages that are nearly impossible to copy. The next box on your lean canvas are going to be, what are your sales, or AKA your distribution channels? These are, the channels that you actually use to reach your customers and make some sales. In today's digital world, there are more channels available every day, and the new ones appear all the time. Think about your customer avatar, like we talked about earlier. Where is this person or your specific target customer actually consume content? When you're filling out your lean canvas, you want to consider all of the online and offline channels to reach your audience, like your Facebook, Instagram, your website. Are you reaching them through Google Ads, or even offline channels like word of mouth, mailing flyers, or even in-person educational events like seminars? So you want to really think through all of the online and offline channels where you can reach your customers to make some sales. The second to last box that we're going to go over is the cost structure. This is what goes in this box, are all of the costs that are associated with actually doing business. This is going to be a breakdown of all of the financial costs of operating a business, whether it's your cost of producing your product or service, your marketing costs, your inventory, insurance you might need, your office space, your website, logo design. Basically anything that you actually need to create and sell your product or service, and also to sustain your business. By understanding all of the costs, this will help you later to create your financial projections for your business, which is a very important but challenging part of your business plan. So being able to set yourself up by thinking through all of your business expenses will help out later on when you're creating your business plan. The very last box, but the most important, are your revenue streams. These are all the different ways that you can potentially upsell and make money. Because if you can't monetize your solution, then it's not a viable business idea. Cash is the oxygen for every single business. So revenue is going to be how you actually generate this. Don't just think about selling your product or service, but how else can you make money? So being able to diversify your revenue streams is very essential. So think about potentially, could you sell advertising space? Could you offer subscriptions for your service, or even earn some commissions from having other affiliates sell your product or service for you? Those are some couple of great ways to help increase your revenue. Now, when you create your lean canvas, this is not something that's set in stone. It's a tool that you use to iterate and solidify your business idea with your team as your business grows and becomes more knowledgeable. So you'll start out with a lot of assumptions, but as you do more research and actually test your hypothesis, this document will continue to evolve with your knowledge, which segues into our next topic, market research. Now, in order to identify your customer segments, the problem that they're facing, and to create a solution for that, you first need to do some market research, which is also sometimes called market analysis. According to the Oxford Dictionary, the definition of market analysis is the activity of gathering information about conditions that affect the marketplace. This could be things like gathering relevant information about your customers and your competitors. These things include things such as, what is the total volume and value of the industry that you're pursuing? Which means, what is the total size and volume of available humans that are willing to buy that are in your industry? What is the total spending value that is occurring in the industry right now? This can also include your customer segments and what your industry looks like. What are the different types of customers that like to use this specific product or service? Also, what are the buying patterns of these customers? Think about the things that they typically like or dislike about similar products and services. That's why it's also good to research your competitors. What are your competitors doing that's actually working? And what are they not doing that your business can capitalize on and offer their customers? So earlier we stated that market analysis is the process of gathering information, right? But when it comes to market research, it can be broken up into two types of research to conduct market analysis. The first one is called primary research, which is data that's gathered specifically by you and collected for a specific purpose. This primary data can come in the form of customer feedback by gathering data through interviews, focus groups, or observing people, or even getting surveys. For interviews, you can interview individuals that are in your target market to get their feedback and perspective on your product or service. This can be costly, though, because you typically need to provide some type of incentive to, take someone's time and to get them to answer these questions. And you're also doing one person at a time. So, it can take a lot of time and money to conduct a sufficient amount of interviews to, make a good impact so you can decide on what you want to do. That's why some businesses will use focus groups instead. This process is pretty much the same as an individual interview, but with a group of people in your target market. That way you're able to actually gain more feedback simultaneously. And an even less, a cheaper and less time-consuming method would also be to use some surveys. You still usually have to provide some type of small incentive to get people to fill them out, maybe a $5 or $10 gift card, or provide them some type of discount for the first, 100 people or however many amount of people you can afford. One great way to find a large group of people with the same interest to conduct research would be Facebook groups. For instance, if your business, let's say, is mobile car washing, you know that a key trait about that target audience is that they love their cars. So you can find a local car group on Facebook and join that group and, talk to all their customers and send out a survey on what their thoughts are about your product or service. The other component of market research will be secondary research. This is going to be data that's already existing, that has been researched, collected, analyzed, and published by someone else. Secondary data can be obtained more quickly at a lower cost compared to primary data. You can also gather secondary data from paid websites like IBIS World, VizMiner, Census.gov, and CIA.gov. And even although, the paid ones can be quite expensive sometimes, but if you guys are attending a college like PCC, you actually still have access to a lot of these informational databases for free. You could simply just go to Google, type in, PCC library database, and you'll find, the login. Once you log in with your school ID, you'll be able to access a whole library database of different resources for you guys to gather secondary research. So doing your proper research is really key to writing a great business plan, which is what we're going to talk about next. So starting and managing a business requires a good business plan. This is basically going to be the blueprint to how your business is structured, how it's going to run, and what your strategy is to actually grow this business in the long run. The purpose is to think through your company's key elements that people want to know about. This is pretty similar to what the Lean Canvas is, because a lot of the information can be transferred over from your Lean Canvas to your business plan. But it's going to be a more formalized document that you can share with banks, investors, and business partners. This is a really great tool for you to use to persuade people that working with you or investing in your business is a great idea. Now let's dive into, briefly what the business plan consists of. The first element of your business plan is going to be your executive summary, right? You're just going to talk about and tell the reader, what does your company actually do and why it'll be successful in the future. You want to continue to break this down later on in your business plan, but this is just going to be a brief overview of, how you're solving the problem and why you're going to be successful. Then you want to go into your company description. This is where you provide more detailed information about your business, such as the very specific problem that you're going to be solving in the industry. You also want to talk about how you'll specifically solve this problem with your business idea. Then you want to lay out what your company's actual mission statement is. This is basically what you plan to accomplish in the next year or two by solving this problem in your industry. Next would be your market analysis. You want to show that you actually understand your industry by identifying who your target market is. This is going to show that you've actually done your research and that you know exactly what the problem is that these people are having that your business is able to solve. Then you want to identify who your biggest competitors are. This shows that you know the big players in your industry and plays a part in how you strategize that you're going to take away some market share away from them. This is why it's important to do your competitive and market research and identify your customers, because you can see what your competitors are not doing so that you can capitalize and take some of their customers away from them, which plays into your industry's market size and potential market share that you're anticipating on capturing. This is why it's important to research the total volume and value of your industry, because it's actually going to help you portray your business's positioning in the market and what your marketing strategy actually is. The next section of your business plan, you want to lay out your organization and your management, which is basically, you're going to show how your company is structured. Is it a C corporation? Is it an S corporation, general or limited partnership? Or if you're a sole proprietor or an LLC, which is a limited liability company. Then you want to lay out your actual organizational management. So you basically just want to tell everyone who's actually running and managing this business. Who's your CEO? Who's your chief financial officer, and so on. You want to talk about their experience in the industry if they have any. This is going to help people feel a lot more confident about your business and how you're going to achieve these goals if you have a great team that has a lot of industry experience because they know what they're actually doing. Then you want to talk about your service or your product line. So you want to provide a description of exactly what you're going to be selling and what services you're providing and how you're able to provide them. Did you have something to say, Elaine? Okay.
No, I think it was somebody else. I was just checking to see maybe somebody was on mute.
Oh, okay, no worries. Then do you want to lay out what the exact benefits of this product or service are? If you reflect back on your lean canvas, these would be the value propositions that your product or service is actually providing as a result of the solution you created. You want to think about what pains are you actually relieving from your customers? What gains are they achieving by using your product or service? Are you saving them time and money? Are you simplifying their life a little bit? Are you helping them make some money? You want to clearly lay out the benefits that your product or service is providing to your customer. The next section has to do with your marketing and sales strategy. So when it comes to a marketing strategy, there's no one single approach that you can use to create one, but you'll need to figure out how you're going to capture your customer's attention, which is really important. This is something that changes and evolves with your industry and is made to fit the unique needs of your customer. So if you guys think about, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, Instagram used to just have pictures and videos that you can post. But now they have Reels, which is very similar to TikTok because they saw how viral that actually became. YouTube even followed the same suit, and now they have YouTube Shorts, which is similar to TikTok. So, when there's someone, that's why it's important to do your research, because when you notice someone in your industry is doing some similar that's really working and capturing a lot of people's attention, you need to adjust your business model or your marketing strategy slightly so that way you can continue to capture some of their customers. So their strategy to attract and retain customers is always evolving based on your industry and what's currently working. This section will describe how you're attracting and retaining customers. It's also going to describe exactly how are you going to make a sale. This will later be reflected in your financial projection plan. The next section of your business plan is going to be your funding requests. You want to provide an outline of your funding requirements. You want to, explain exactly how much funding do you need to get this business off of the ground. Think about all the costs it'll take to run this business. So if you reflect again back on your lean canvas, similar to what we put in the cost structure, you're going to need to put the totals for how much all of these costs are going to be over the next year, the year or two that you need to run your business. What are the totals going to be to get your business up and running? You also want to talk about what you're going to actually spend this money on over the next few years. So you can think about all of your product or service costs, your office rent, your marketing and advertising, and everything that you actually need to run and operate this business successfully. Then the last and most important section of your business plan are going to be your financial projections. This is where you provide a financial outlook over the next, it could be 3 to 5 years, which includes all of the costs of running your business, along with all of the projected sales you plan on making in the next few years. This can sometimes be challenging, but you want to make sure that you're taking an educated guess. So you can do as much research as you can to look at other potential startups in your industry to see how much they're earning, their first year, their second year, kind of break that up into the months and try to compare yourself based on your resources of how many customers you think you can gain based off of that information. It can take you several hours or weeks or even a month to complete all the steps in a business plan. And it can be challenging, but this is why we first started with the Lean Canvas tool and learning about market research. Because after you do your research and you start to validate your assumptions, by making some sales or talking to people, filling out your business plan will become much, much easier. Now, after you've done all your research and you've determined that you have a viable business idea, your next step is to start legitimizing your business. In order to legally operate your business in your jurisdiction, you need to register your business with the correct government agencies. So it's important to be legitimate because if you operate illegally, you'll not be able to qualify for business lines of credit, take advantage of grants, which is basically just free money, protect your assets from people suing your business, or pass down a wealth generating machine to your loved ones if it's done right, of course. You can also run the risk of losing everything that you created and worked on if you operate illegally. So if you want to legitimize your hustle, it's definitely going to help you eliminate the risk of being caught conducting illegal business that will result in fines and having your business taken away. Like I said, it's going to help you establish business lines of credit, and you'll also be able to form relationships with your vendors, your suppliers, and your banks, which can be very useful. So, if you don't have the money right away, if you establish good credit lines and relationships with your vendors, sometimes they have a net 30 or a net 60 or even a net 90. So you can actually obtain some supplies and not have to actually pay for them a month or two down the line. As a business, you can also take advantage of tax codes and all the business expenses to help reduce your business taxes in the long run. It'll also be much easier to hire good talent, which is pretty much essential for any successful business. If you're looking at all these big companies, they're always trying to take the top executives from the other companies so that they can have the best talent on their team, because that's what's going to make sure you're successful. So in order to actually set up your business the right way, we're going to go through Conaction's 9-step process. So the first step to legitimizing your business is actually selecting a business name that's not currently taking. So that means you need to check with your local Secretary of State if you're filing for an incorporation, or if you're doing a fictitious business name or DBA, you could check with the county's clerk's office online if you're doing a sole proprietorship to actually make sure a few business names. You want to also make sure that you consider a few different business names in case your first choice is not available. So for Secretary of State, you can easily go to their website. It's bizfileonline.sos.ca.gov. You would go in here, you just type in your business name and hit enter just to see if it's available. Obviously, for Conaction, you can see that it's already taken. It's a nonprofit, so it'll show you what type of corporations are actually existing with that business name. If it doesn't exist, it's not going to pop up. For the county clerk's office, you could go to lavote.gov/FBN-search. And this is where you would also search for the business name. We don't have a DBA, so it's not going to pop up. But if it doesn't exist, it's just going to show no results. So those are the two websites you can use to actually search for your business name with the Secretary of State if you're doing a corporation, or the county clerk's office for a DBA or sole proprietorship. Another resource you could use is namecheck.com for social handles. So this will tell you if the website's available for that business, and also all the different social media handles that are already taken. So if there's a bunch of social media handles that already exist in that business name, sometimes it's not the best to go with that if they already have a great a big following. Sometimes this, name check, it's not always perfect, but it does give you a good idea of a lot of the social handles that are already existing with your business name. The next thing you want to consider is actually, when you're starting your business, is selecting the correct business structure. Whether it's a sole proprietorship, LLC, C Corp, S Corp. If you choose a corporation, you have to file with the Secretary of State in your headquarters state. However, if you do decide to start as a sole proprietor, you can register with the county clerk's office like we just talked about. But if you do register with the state, you do typically want to consult with an attorney to make sure, before you make any final decisions, because each different corporation can have slightly different set of advantages and tax brackets and things like that. If you want to do more of your own research on each specific, partnership, C Corp, S Corp, and what the differences are, you could just simply look up Google SBA business structures, and you can look at all the different ones to see how each business structure works. Also, if you want to check out this other nonprofit organization called Start Small, Think Big, you can go to their website, startsmallthinkbig.org, and they actually offer free legal services to help small business owners if you want to just consult with an attorney to see what is the best business structure based on the industry you're choosing. Once you've selected your business structure and you want to establish your business entity, the next step is to apply for your employer identification number. Your business EIN is basically a 9-digit federal government identification number that you use to identify your business for all future uses. You can get your business EIN number by registering with the IRS. You pretty much just go to irs.gov, type in EIN, and you could fill out an application. It probably takes less than 30 minutes. You could typically just do it yourself, and you'll have a business EIN. This is basically just a social security number, but specifically for your business. If you have a sole proprietorship, you don't necessarily need an EIN. This is mainly for corporations and things like that. Now, if you do want to establish, business credit down the line, you want to make sure all your business records, like your DBA, your LLC, your EIN, your bank accounts, list the same information all across the board. So that means having a consistent business website and email. This will help establish credibility with potential lenders that you're trying to get a loan from or lines of credit. You want to make sure that you're not using a Gmail. You want to use a specific business email with your name at yourwebsite.com. So like my business email was alex@quinaction.org. Whatever your name is at yourwebsite.com, that's the type of business email you want to use that will give you more credibility when you're applying for lines of credits or a loan. And also, lenders and potential customers will likely search for your website. So having a valid and operational website will help boost your business credibility instantly, because if someone's providing you a loan for your business, they want to make sure you're running an actual legitimate business. So they'll check out your website and see what you have going on. So you want to make sure it's working and it looks nice. If you're also interested in establishing credit later down the line, having a business phone and listing your business in the 411 is essential. This is, something you can easily do. Lenders can see if your business phone number is a cell phone, a residential number, or an actual business phone number. This is going to help boost your credibility to have actual business phone number. So depending on your business model, it may be appropriate to get a 1-800 number if you're planning on doing, businesses in multiple states or across the nation. A 1-800 number is kind of more uniform and fit for that. But if you're just doing, business in your local area, getting a local business number will definitely help boost the credibility of your business with lenders. Another aspect of the vetting process for most lenders is also to verify your business address to see, in fact, if you are a real business. As you can imagine, the more professional and legitimate your business is or appears to be, the better. So many lenders prefer that a business has an actual physical business address or location. But if you're filing for a corporation, your information for your business is actually a public domain. So literally anybody can look it up by just going to the Secretary of State website and looking up your business name. So if you don't want to put your personal address or have that type of information be on a public domain, you can use a virtual address, which also still checks out for lenders as a business address. They're pretty inexpensive. They don't cost too much, probably like $100, $120 for the whole year. Another important and crucial step to legitimizing your business is getting your business bank account. So opening a business bank account is super important because this is going to help you separate your finances, which is going to make your accounting much easier and also cheaper in the future. So when you do your taxes at the end of the year, hiring an accountant to dig through your personal and your business expenses to determine which ones are business is going to be very expensive when you start trying to do your taxes. But if you have everything in one business bank account, it'll be much easier to organize your expenses. So that way you can, create a report for your accountant and it'll make your taxes much quicker and cheaper for you in the long run. Opening a business bank account also helps you establish a relationship at your local bank. So you're physically going into the bank, you're talking to a banker, establishing your bank account. You start to develop a personal relationship with this person because you're meeting them face to face. This will help you later down the line when you want to get loans or lines of credit. You actually have someone to talk to that you have a personal relationship to help grow your business. When you're getting a business bank account, I personally like to check with the local credit unions. I think they do have a lot better rates than a lot of these bigger corporations. They typically have a lower monthly fee for small businesses. So like larger banks like Chase or something, they can have fees anywhere from $15 to $25 a month, but they'll waive the fee if you have like $2,500 or $5,000 in your bank account every month. But when you're starting out, maybe you don't have a whole bunch of money to start off with. So credit unions are typically a cheaper option. They can charge around like $5 a month, or some places will even make it free for you if you have less than 100 transactions per month. But it does vary from bank to bank. So the next step to applying and legitimizing your business is obviously getting all your state licenses and permits based on your industry. So you want to make sure that you're actually complying with local licensing and permits requirements to make sure you're legit. So a business tax registration certificate, also known as a business license, is required for individuals or entities conducting business activities within the city of Los Angeles to legally operate. These certificates are obtained through the Los Angeles City Office of Finance. You can just go online, look up business license through Office of Finance, and you can register for your business tax registration certificate. If you're selling a physical product, the state of California is going to require that you actually get a seller's permit or a California sales tax certificate number. This will enable you to basically charge tax for items that you sell. So the seller's permit is basically if you have a physical product, right? Anytime you sell something, you're going to charge, a certain percentage of sales tax on that item. And then at the end of the year, you pretty much just take that tax that you've taken from the customers and you give that to the state of California. A health permit is going to be required if you're selling food, which you can obtain from the County of Los Angeles public health website. But there was also a new law within, I want to say, the last 5 years that you can start selling food from home. So if you're operating a home-based food business, you can get a cottage food permit with the California Department of Public Health. You just pretty much register with the California Department of Public Health for your food cottage permit. And then you basically just take a public health food processor course within 3 months of getting your permit to make it valid. Take a drink real quick. Going through this a lot faster than I thought, so we're going to have a lot of time for questions at the end. Last but not least is getting your business DUNS number or your unique entity ID number. These are two separate things. So the DUNS number is going to be used by lenders and potential business partners to determine what is your company's financial stability and credibility, basically. Businesses are assigned a 9-digit identification number from Dun & Bradstreet, and you can get this by requesting it from Dun & Bradstreet. You just go to their website, dnb.com, and you would register your business with Dun & Bradstreet. They'll give you an identification number, ask you some questions, and you have a DUNS number. In the future, if you plan on working with any type of federal or government agencies, they have a new number, this UEI number. I think this just came out in April of this year. So this is new. You go to SAM, if you're a contractor and you want to do business with the government, you have to register your company to obtain this unique entity ID number. And you can also simply request this number from the government by just going to sam.gov and registering your business and filling in all the questions and information about your business. And it's a little bit of a process. They kind of take a while to get back to you, but this is how you would receive your UEI number. So both numbers are important to legitimizing your business and giving you more credibility. And that's pretty much it for all of the steps to legitimizing your business. Now, I did want to talk about some free resources for you guys. So another good place to get free resources is the Los Angeles Law Library. They offer a lot of free webinars and educational resources to help small businesses. So it's lalawlibrary.org. And you can look on their website under business series to find all of the free workshops that they have for small businesses. Also, you could go with PCC, the SBDC webinars like you guys are watching now. Go to their website, pccsbdc.org, and you can also check out, all of the free webinars like the one you're watching now to see what type of resources and educational things that you can use for your business. What are tax advantages, all these little small nuances that can be confusing, but it's good to further educate yourself before you get into business. And then like the one I talked about earlier, a nonprofit called Start Small, Think Big. startsmallthinkbig.org. You can click on small business resources in their navigation and apply for their services. They have a bunch of great free resources, from offering legal advice and marketing support and all kinds of things. So who doesn't love some free resources? And then if you guys want some additional tools that we've kind of compiled together, you can check out our bit.ly. We have compiled pretty much this list of like over 60 different business resources that people use, whether it's a free accounting tool like Waves, if you want to get started on your accounting, organizing your expenses, social media and marketing tools, market research tools, all the little different tools and applications you can use to help your business. Some of them are free, some are not free. We label them, but yeah, there's a list of over 60 tools and resources in there that we've compiled for you guys. You could check it out at bit.ly/CXN resource. Make sure you capitalize the CXN, it's case sensitive. That's a great place. If you want to take a screenshot, you can just fill out your name and email, and we'll email you this free template for you guys for your business. Oh wait, what was that last one? Also, if you want more free resources, you could check out our Linktree link, linktr.ee/conexion_inc. We have a lot of free resources in there. So today we talked about competitive and market research. I have a free competitive and market research template in there for you guys as well. And other free resources for you guys to start getting ahead and doing your research so you can start your business the right way. And lastly, we do also have a separate business that does just strictly educational curriculum. If you guys liked, the webinar today and the style of teaching, you can also check out our online course at bit.ly/class4business. It's just through our separate company that we have, which is called Academy for Hustlers. And they specifically just create educational curriculum for small businesses. And then lastly, this is our contact information. If you guys like what you saw today, you guys want to reach out later on or have any additional questions, we're definitely more than happy to help out. Where I would definitely recommend, reaching out to the SBDC at your, school location. They can also provide you guys with resources and help as well. So yeah, that pretty much concludes the presentation. I don't know if I was talking really fast or I just blew it, but I definitely went through that information a lot quicker than I thought.
The first question that we see on here, Alex, well, maybe not the first, but there was like a second and a third question on here that we're asking is, one, if you could send us the presentation, because some people want to access it afterwards, and we will be sending over the recording, so you guys will have it. So it'll be sent to whatever email you guys registered with. And I think, as Alex mentioned, it'll also be posted on the SBDC website. So, make sure that you guys keep checking the website, but we'll make sure we'll send it to you guys via email as well. Okay, so there was quite a bit of questions, and I've been tracking them just so that, we can kind of tackle those. For Huyen, you asked, how can I make an appointment with Alex? You guys take a screenshot of this page, of this slide, right? Because that's his email right there. You can reach out to him and make an appointment with him. And I just want to make sure I remind everyone, Conexion is based out of South LA. So if you guys are close by too, there is, the possibility of seeing somebody in person or virtual, right? Because that is the world we live in now.
Yeah.
Okay, so Alex from SAC asking, how can we know if the business that we want to start can be operated from home?
Well, it depends on what type of business you're doing. Like I was talking about earlier, like the business address and stuff, that's more for if later down the line you want to go for business lines of credit. It's going to be important to have that, virtual address or business address. But if you're just kind of starting off and, you might get some funding or you have some savings that, you could start your business, you could start it from a home-based business, but, it depends on what type of business specifically you're trying to do. Even if you're doing a food business, that Cottage Food Act, that was released recently where you could get a Cottage Food Act license to be able to create and sell food from your home. So it just really depends what you're trying to do, what type of industry you're trying to pursue.
And the recommendation would be to speak to a business advisor, right? Or to attend one of these resources that Alex mentioned, because there's so many intricacies. You want to make sure that you are operating to the best of your ability. So, all these resources do one-on-one sessions so that they can talk to you a little bit more about your business, and you can see if it's something you can start from your home or if it's something that you should tackle at a location. And then there's also so many other resources. So for example, even with the food cottage act, you can also then go to like a commercial kitchen, or you can operate in so many different ways. So again, asking questions and going to these resources that are free is kind of key. Justin asked this question on what's a good way to see what is trending in terms of business trends.
That's a great one. It depends on, I would say, again, your industry. Like to look at business trends, a lot what people do is look at their competitors. So if you're doing something, there's most likely another business that's trying to do something similar or the exact same thing. So doing your market research and your competitive research, finding all the different people in the space that you're trying to enter and look at what they're doing and look at their posts, see which ones have the most engagement, right? And this will help you determine what's actually working for them and what's not working for them. And you could read through their comments, go through their Facebook, their Yelp page, all these different places. You can look at this business and what customers are actually saying about them to determine what's working and what's not working for these types of businesses. And that will give you an idea. Like if you start to see a lot of people saying, oh, I like that you do this with your business, or there's a lot of things that they like, and you're seeing this pattern, that's something that's working a lot with that target market in that industry.
And if I can add a little bit to it, it's always a good thing to go visit their store, go visit their pop-up, and then just take a look around the customers, what are customers talking about and things like that. So yeah, show up to their store, even talk to some of their managers or some of the people who's behind the counter. It would be a great opportunity for you to get how they're running the business, how they're communicating the product and the service can really help you out.
Yeah, really great insights from just seeing how business actually operate live, right? And then if you're trying to emulate something. Nathaniel asks, what makes a successful marketing strategy?
I think I might want to answer that one. Check this out. So I think what makes a successful marketing strategy, and really for your metrics in your marketing. And at the end of the day, your strategy, it's making sales. You got to make sales. Is it working?
And you also want to think about what captures the attention of your customers the most. Going back to the Instagram, YouTube example, they started doing reels because people were staying on TikTok longer because of their formatting. It's a big format, it's quick, it's easy. And so something that's capturing their customers' attention for a longer period of time is going to be the best marketing strategy. So the best way you can capture your customers' attention as quick as possible and sustain that attention.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that you have to think about too, there's so many different things that you can think about marketing strategies, but again, if you go to an advisor or if you're working with someone, you can kind of go through ideas and figure out what makes it, how do you measure success, right? That's also super important because you're talking about something that's really broad and everybody will define it a little bit differently. Depending on what you're doing, you can measure success. I think, well, I'm gonna follow up with another question that Nathaniel had, which I think this is also might be a little bit of a broad question, but it says, how do I determine whether I am capable of starting a small business? What kind of person makes a successful entrepreneur? Thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I think I just posted this about my Instagram earlier, is really doing a skills audit, right? Look at what you're learning in school, look at all the skills you have, all the experience things you've done in your life. Think about things that people are always asking you help on, and see do these skills and strengths that you have as a person complement this type of business, right? So if I've never washed a car before, but I want to go into a car washing business, you have zero experience. It's kind of hard to get into something that you have no experience in. So, definitely look at the skills you have and start listing all the skills or things you're learning or things you're good at, right? And cross out the ones that you're not most passionate about. You want to keep the ones that you're most passionate about. And from the skills that you're most passionate about, cross out the ones that don't match the industry that you're trying to pursue.
Yeah, I think that's super helpful. And I think there's no written rule about what makes a successful entrepreneur. I think the only thing that we can tell you, or at least that I can tell you guys from experience of working with hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs on a yearly basis, is that it's really about perseverance. And I think one thing that Alex mentioned is like, if it's something that you're passionate about and you are able to do it, there's just going to be days when you make money and there's going to be days when you don't make money. And there's also days when things are really hard and there's things when things are really easy. And if you're able to keep that passion going, then that is going to make you a successful entrepreneur. You're going to find a way to do whatever you are passionate about. But there's no real recipe for success as an entrepreneur other than to just keep going, right? So I think that we've seen that to be kind of like the thread. Neha asked, if we sell multiple products and services, do we need to register separate entities for each type of business, or an umbrella business for products and services?
I guess it would depend on how alike they are. You can have a business that has a lot of different products, but if it falls under the same umbrella of the type of product you're selling, then you'll be fine with that one company. But if it's a bunch of different things, like one's a mobile detailing, but then the other one is providing financial services, those are like different industries. So you would need different businesses for that.
Yeah, and so I think similar to something like that, I think Zach said later, like, is it possible for eyebrow threading and like a henna station being under the same umbrella, the same business?
Those seem pretty different to me a little bit, because I think who's going to be getting your eyebrow threading is a very specific industry and target market, and maybe licenses you might have to obtain, versus like a henna is like pretty straightforward, but a little bit different than eyebrow threading. So I would definitely say those are two different types of businesses. And it's important to separate your businesses if they're different industries, because your marketing message is going to be different for each business. You don't want to be so broad in your marketing and be like, I help everybody. Like, you want to be more specific on your message and, solving the problem for that specific target customer.
Yeah, I think, well, so then the question for that, I think there was a question after this from Zach's comment, was it like, is it possible to do both of those from home? Specifically talking about eyebrow threading and henna tattoos.
I'm not super sure about the eye threading. You want to say something, Oscar?
No, go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say I'm not super keen on like the eyebrow threading industry, but I've definitely seen a lot of people, start off from doing it at home. So I don't think it's a problem, but I would definitely maybe have to do more research on like those specific industries.
Yeah, and so questions in terms of maybe we'll do the in terms of structures. Is there any waivers for LLC fees for students that you guys know of?
No, I don't think there is. I just know sometimes for the first year, if you make under a certain amount, they can waive the fee, I believe. But typically the $800 corporate fee is going to be every year.
And then this question is actually more related to maybe Dawn. Are there grants that we can apply for to start a business? I think there currently is a program, correct, running out of the SBDC?
So there's currently a program called the Dream Fund, but that one's about at the end. There will be new programs coming with micro grants for startups. So stay tuned. When you go to our website, you can sign up for our newsletter. I highly recommend it. We'll keep you up to date there.
Yeah, and also attending business pitch competitions is a really solid way to not only validate your business idea, but win some money, right? That's the same way that we started our business. We won $25,000 and we got, There's people from like NASA or LegalZoom that were on the panel that, they give you a lot of good feedback about your business idea and how you can improve it as well.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think as students, you guys should definitely take advantage of your student flagship. And as you're going into the different kind of categories, I think Don mentioned earlier in his intro, we're looking at actually creating a business pitch competition at PCC, right? Sometime next year. So that'll be something that is coming your way. But if you're transferring, or if you're looking to transfer to a 4-year institution or university, check out their entrepreneurship programs. Oftentimes they have business pitch competitions, they have business plan competitions. I know, as Alec mentioned, we won some money off of like a city one, but I know we host business pitch competitions at like Cal State LA. Several of the Cal States actually host competitions. You can win some cash, right? To get started, to validate your idea and kind of start working on those things.
If I may add, Elaine, real quick.
Yeah.
I know there's this upcoming year, and I mean, it's just literally around the corner. There's a lot of funding that's coming down. So if any of you have a hustle going on right now, it's a good time to legitimize your hustle and start showing those your sales, right? Like open up a bank account, start showing that you're making some sales, because when that funding comes through, you position yourself to go after some of these grants or other funding, because there's going to be a lot of support for all of you.
And
Yeah.
I need to echo that, Oscar. Really, really good point. And this whole presentation, Alex, was excellent, especially those 9 points, because once you've confirmed the idea, and we or Conexion can help you with that as well, you do want to become a legit business, because the grantors are going to want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to want to give you money that goes into your personal bank account, for example. So really, really great points made throughout this. And we will have the recording up on our YouTube within a day or so.
Yeah, there's a couple more questions on the chat, but I don't want to go too deep into this. But Justin, you talked about permissions for image usage, and then Elsie, you asked about virtual business and SEO. Those two questions are very specific, and depending on what you're doing, I would highly recommend reaching out to either Alex and Oscar at Conexion, or actually going to the SBDC and having very specific questions about, how to maximize your SEO if you're getting an address for your photography business, or if you're thinking about purchasing images and then reselling them for different usage. Those are very specific use cases. So I would say definitely go to your local resource providers. Again, you have all the information of the guys here on the screen. Take a screenshot, email them, have a session with them, have a, and understand how you can do a lot of those things, right? And then I think Alexander asked, like, how do you come up with a business idea? Man, I think we have so many different stories, and I think like the guys and I can tell you so many different stories. How many times did we iterate on this idea? It was like maybe 4 or 5 times, right? Then after the original idea. But any ideas on how can some of the students come up with amazing ideas, or even just ideas to get started and maybe iterate on them?
Wow, that's what I was gonna say. Wow, a lot.
Yeah, there's so many different ways. So guys, I think this is something that you can go about it in so many different ways, but coming to workshops like this, collaborating with other people, learning and listening to how other people are doing it, that's one way, right? Because you might not necessarily, I will share, I actually don't necessarily think I had an idea of my own right away. There was a lot of things that I knew how to do. I think Oscar, you were taking like a class or something, and it was a class project. And he was like telling me about his class project, and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you actually did this way? And I think I it was like some mobile payment system we were doing or something
It
like
was a
that. And then
POS, it's a POS system. Yeah, for like for small businesses, because there's no efficient POS system, or they can't afford it, or they don't know. Yeah.
yeah, and we were talking about like talking to like swap meet vendors, or like, like the swap meet stands, right? Because like we grew up in swap meets, and that's how the collaboration started. And then we went from that to another, to another, to another, and ended up in different ideas. And obviously still working on several different things. But I would say continuing to come to programs like this, joining events. Maybe you don't even, it's okay if you don't have an idea. You can sometimes jump on someone else's idea and say, you know what, I have something to add to that, right? Like I have some experience with that, or I understand a little bit about how that might be done. Just kind of getting involved and saying yes to things, opportunities, places. Events is the hardest part because we get so caught up going to school, working, or whatever, but make a little bit of time for a dream that can be. And you never know what it'll turn into. I mean, 5 years later, here are the guys like teaching courses. I think this is very much the idea, like 5 years ago, right? How can we teach others how to start businesses?
Yeah, and it's also a great place to meet talented people that could also be a part of your business, right? You see all these cool, talented people that have ideas that can contribute and help you grow and strategize based on their expertise. So it's definitely also a great place to just meet cool people and, possible co-founders and things like that. So.
Yes. All right. That's amazing.
Sorry, I can't
Go for
help
that,
it, Elaine. So a couple things to really reinforce here. Your idea today is not likely the idea that you'll make a business from. You will learn through a process similar to what Alex laid out, but much of it trial and error, and you will likely land on something different with customers. And that also goes to what he said about finding a pain in the market. Alex, I think your exact words were the pain is the business.
Mhm.
And it's really the solution to the pain is the business. And as a startup, you'll be searching for the right business model, for a pain in the market that you can solve for, and that people will pay you to solve it. All of that was in what Alex shared. It was excellent. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right. Well, I'm gonna, as usual, thank you so much, both Alex and Oscar, for joining us today. Thank you for all the really great information. I think this is super helpful. And again, this is just the beginning, guys. We have a few more sessions to go. I know the next one we're going to be talking about financial literacy and generational wealth. But I want to make sure that when you're talking about the business competition, we already have you on our email list because you are part of this workshop series. So you'll be getting information as soon as that competition becomes live here in at PCC. But as usual, we also want to hear what we can be doing better, right? So I am going to drop a document in the chat. I just did, and I'll drop it in again. And click on that document. As you guys know, you can go into the Google Doc. You guys can type in your comments on the left-hand side. You can let us know what's a plus. So what did you like about today's training session? What worked well? What did you find useful? What did you find insightful? And on the right-hand side, please let us know what did you not like about today's training. We're always looking to improve. We can always make these better. If you tell us how we can make these better, like let us know what you didn't like about today's session. What would you change? What would you like to see more of or learn more about? Please send those in this document. Please make sure you guys include what are other topics. So for example, the SEO question came about. So maybe we'll do a session on SEO. Maybe you're interested in doing, businesses and professional services like the henna tattoos and the, eyebrow threading. If that's something of interest and if that's something you guys want to learn more about, if that's something that you guys want to see more of, then let us know. You can drop it into the Google Doc. Super helpful for us, because as we try to figure out, what are the next contents that we're going to bring to you, what are the other workshops we should be bringing to you, we take all your feedback. We then go back and find the people that can come and teach you and share with you all the resources to start, whatever you want to start. Like I said, this series is actually really, in terms of the topics are very innovative. We know we talked about, last week we talked about influencers, right? And how they're micro businesses. We've talked about the power of entrepreneurship and what it can do for you as a skill set. Not as, we look at entrepreneurship as a skill set, something you can have in your back pocket and utilize it, whether you're starting a business or you are, working in a company. Again, today, if you are interested in starting a small business, you learned a lot of really great tips and resources that are free to you. Next week, or in 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about financial literacy and generational wealth. So if you're thinking about, man, how do I make money, more money than my parents? If you are your parents, like retirement fund, for example, this is a really great place to start, right? You got to start thinking about saving money, investing money now. It might seem like a really big thing that it might not be for you, because you're like, where am I supposed to get this money to invest it? There are so many different ways that you can actually get started, and we're going to bring you some of the most innovative ways and free resources that are available for you guys to get started. And at the very least, you just have the information, right? If you are not ready to do it today, you then at least have the information. You can come back to it and say, okay, when you're ready to start. So knowledge is power, and that's really what we're trying to bring to each and every single one of you. But other than that, I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to Don. Thank you to the Freeman Center for making sure that, you're bringing all these resources to the students. Again, this is super exciting. I am super proud of all the work that these two organizations are doing, because, man, you guys deserve it. All the students at PCC deserve it. And we're excited to see much, much more student ventures and student small businesses get started. So I want to say thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us, Elaine. It was a good time, as always.
Yes.
Thank you all.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll send over the recording, and we'll send over, the resources.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Feel
everybody.
free to reach out. Yep.